If you're running an architectural practice anywhere in the world, this video is for you. At ArchiBiz, we've been helping architectural practice, probably just like yours, all over the world for the last 7 or 8 years. We've developed a methodology that really works. We've seen clients go from struggling and stress, no money in the bank, to really having enough money to cover them for a rainy day, and it made them just feel a lot more safe in running their practice. I'm Ray Brown, I'm CEO of ArchiBiz, and today I'd like to take you through just the opportunities that you have to improve your business. Yeah, and it is a business. We sometimes call it an architectural practice, but whether you like it or not, it is a business. I'm not an architect, so I can wholly focus on the business side of architecture. And that experience has come from, as I say, working with lots of clients and finding that architecture, whilst it's a really complex product and service, the business is really quite simple. So you've got yourself and you've got some people that you may hire. You've got hours that you apply to projects, and then you turn those into invoices and money. That's the business model. There are no vehicles or no factories. There's no big distribution problems. Yes, there are lots of issues, but not to the same extent as a lot of other industries. So we've got to stop this business of architecture is really hard, no one makes money. It's just not true. Architects do make money. I see practices with really successful profit and loss accounts. Profit and loss accounts that show that the owner gets paid a really good rate for the job. Why would you work for your own business for less than you would be paid working for someone else? And then the business itself, it needs to make a profit so that you can reinvest. And so you get some reward for being a practice owner, hiring people, the sleepless nights, and there are always sleepless nights in running a business. And you need to be rewarded for that. So that's the profit in the business. A profit is not a dirty word. And what we say in ArchiBiz is that it's good business that leads and allows good architecture, not the other way around. So many architects have the philosophy that, well, let the work speak for itself. If we design some really good projects, and yes, we might win some awards, and we put those photographs on a website, then people will come and find us and they will want buildings just like the ones that we put on the website. Unfortunately, there's lots of people can do that. There's lots of people can produce an outcome that's relatively similar to what you can do. So what's the alternative? Well, the alternative is to stand out and to really be that architectural practice and architect that solves problems for clients. That's the key. Every sale begins with a problem being solved. Every sale begins with a problem. I don't think there's one sale that anyone can tell me about that doesn't begin with a problem. Whether you're buying washing powder, if you could wash clothes with just plain water, you wouldn't need washing powder. People buy clothes to make themselves look good because they perhaps can't find a partner quick enough. So there's lots of different ways to look at business, and the best way, I think, is to see yourself as a problem solver. And you need to demonstrate as an architectural practice how you can solve the problems of a particular group or a couple of groups better than anyone else. And then you'll get the work, then you'll get known for that work, and you'll be able to reap the rewards. So we're living in difficult times at the moment. Projects are going on hold. The world is really unstable. Decision making is very slow in a lot of cases. We're hearing this over and over again from our coaching clients. And costs are rising. So unless you can control the process and you can demonstrate that you can meet budgets and timescales, then you are going to struggle in the marketplace at the moment, because it is tough, as I say. So let me today give you some places to start. How do you improve an architectural practice? That's really the key question. And it's the question that we've spent a number of years trying to figure out. We have a really successful online program called the Master of Business for Architects, the Fast Track MBA. and I'll give you the link to that at the end. We've also got a free business school for architects on the school platform. You'll find that at skool.com/ArchiBiz, ARCHIBIZ. And you're welcome to go and join that for free. Lots of discussions, lots of free resources. So let's get back to making your architectural practice better. And really, we have a model that we call the 4 Ps. There's lots of conversation in architecture about just get more work. If we get more work, the business will succeed, we'll be more profitable, and everything will be fine. And unfortunately, we find that that's not the case, that more work is sometimes the last thing you want. If you get the wrong type of work at the wrong price from the wrong type of client, that's not going to help your business. So it's really important that you start thinking of improving your architectural practice on a bigger scale, and a more holistic approach is what we take. So the first P that we've got here is the practice itself. So you need a practice that is profitable, that pays the wages, and there's money left over at the end of the end of the month. You can't wait for your accountant to tell you whether you're profitable or not. So the financial side of running an architectural practice, think of it like your scorecard. Okay, so business is a game, and playing a game without a scoring system is really, really difficult. People will get bored. So if you are one of these people that says, I leave that financial stuff to my accountant, and he tells me or she tells me at the end of the year how much profit I've made, then that is a huge opportunity to make your practice more professional and more business-like. So you've got to get systems and processes in your practice. So there are, and we've developed lots of systems and processes that just work. So why would you invent those yourself or go out and find them when those are readily available, tried and tested, with templates that we can help you implement? And you've got to get a reporting system. You've got to find time in the month to speak about the practice, not just about the projects. So the architectural business is really like a 3-legged stool. So you've got the projects, you've got the clients, and quite often that's the end of the story. The practice is all about meeting deadlines and getting projects out the door and responding to clients' demands. And clients can be quite demanding sometimes. But the third leg of the stool is the business itself. So you've really got to look at after that first P, the practice. So if it's working as a holistic entity, then you're off to a really good start. So lots of things you can do under the first P. The second P is the projects. So obviously the projects are the buildings that you design and help get constructed, and hopefully that process runs smoothly. But quite often the things like the capacity of the practice and how many projects can you handle? What's the best type of projects? How do you get those projects? How do you manage the projects? Things like key performance indicators. What are the key performance indicators that you need to monitor to make sure that you are running an efficient and effective business? And your currency in projects are hours. That's your currency. You buy hours in the market from yourself and from other people, and you turn those into money. I said that earlier. So if you don't manage that process of conversion of hours into money, then you can well be left behind. And you can get real shocks at the end of the day because people are using far too many hours against what was originally budgeted. And unless you monitor that and keep people on track, there is a tendency in architecture for people to over-service, over-deliver. And what we say is if you have a budget of 20 hours and you actually use 30 hours on that project, then you've effectively given the client a gift of 10 hours. So really, really important that you manage hours. And then you've got the proposals of how do you propose these projects to people? How do you get the right projects from the right people? And how do you have a proposal that's designed to win work? And I find it quite amusing that architects often speak about being under price pressure, and yet the thing that they send to clients is called a fee proposal. And then who it can be no surprise that the client focuses on the fee because that's what the document is called. There are better ways. What we encourage is people to call their proposal something like a client offer. So it's an offer to solve a problem. That's what you're doing. So then there's resource management. We've spoken about that earlier, turning hours into money, and you've got to manage your resources efficient and effectively. Which takes us to the third P, which is people. So you've got people in your practice, and you've got a capacity. Do you know what your capacity is? We could help you work that out. It's very simple. There is a number that you should be able to bill every single month if you've got the right projects and you're properly organised with the right systems and processes. There will be a capacity that you can reach, and there will be a gap between what you're billing on average each month and that capacity number. And that's fine because you've identified a prize or a gap. And the reason for that gap is one thing and one thing only. It's some form of inefficiency. You're not getting the right projects, you're not managing the right projects, and you're ending up with a gap between what you could be doing as a practice and what you're actually doing. So it's really important that you get that right. So people, hiring the right people, when to hire, when to fire, because that can happen. And whilst we wouldn't advocate that you see your staff as a flexible resource, architects are not making decisions around building $20 million factories. It's about hiring people. So it's really important that you hire at the right time. And what we find is a lot of architects operate under what we call the get busy, get help model. So we get the work and we get really busy, and then we look to hire people. By doing that, you're hiring too late. You hire the wrong people. You don't have time to induct them. And really, that's a recipe for disaster. So you've got to plan. It's where the financial planning comes in. When can I afford to take people on? How much work do I need to win? How much work have I already got? And when is that work going to run out? Where do I need to plug in new work? And what type of work would suit our practice best? So people, really important. And the last P is perception. We wanted 4 Ps. Perception is really all about marketing. Positioning. How is your practice positioned in the market? Are you a Rolls-Royce product or are you a Suzuki product? And it's fine. You can be one or other, but you need to know which one you are, and you need to be able to communicate that to the market. And that means having a good website, and not a website that's just full of pictures of buildings. There needs to be some story in there, some emotion, some indication of who your target market is, who your ideal client is, and what you do for them, and what problems you solve for them better than anybody else. And unless your website doesn't communicate that, then you really are starting off behind the 8 ball. We find so many architectural practices that don't have a phone number on them. You've got to fill in a form before you speak to this architectural practice. That is perhaps one way of filtering people out, but you can filter out good people by doing that too. Much better for your website to communicate who you are, where you fit in the market, who your ideal client is, so that when the phone rings, you've got a pre-qualified lead on the other end. And that you'll have a pre-qualified lead on the other end of the phone. And that is really important. That will make your practice more efficient. So sales and marketing is about attracting what we call your tribe. And in the Master of Business for Architects, we speak a lot about the tribe. What is the tribe? What constitutes the tribe? How do you attract the right tribe? And then you've got sales skills. So if you've got a lead and you've got people coming in, do you have the right frameworks and processes to convert that lead into an actual piece of work? Or are you just telling the story you've always told? This is who we are, this is when we started, this is the type of work we do, and here's our process, and you lay it out step by step. Now that may appeal to some people, but it won't appeal to everyone, and you need to tailor your message to the needs of an individual client. How do you tell the story to someone who's what we call a feeler, someone's into colours and stories, as compared with someone who's a thinker, who needs lots of data and lots of time and lots more information? Or you might be dealing with what we call a knower, someone who just wants to cut to the chase and give me the information I need. Unless you're categorizing your prospects in that sort of way, then you're probably missing opportunities and you'll be losing out on work that you could otherwise win, and probably work that you could do fantastically well for that client. So that's the 4 Ps: the practice, the projects, the people, and the perception. And all of those give you opportunities to run a really good practice. So you need to stand out. You need to look at all these 4 Ps and say, how can I stand out as a practice? How can I build a bridge between someone's problem and my solution that looks better than all the other bridges around? Because there are plenty of architects. Architects are not going out of business. Okay, so you need to adopt what we call an abundant mindset. Okay, don't listen to the doom and gloom of architects don't make money and there's not a lot of work around. There's plenty of work around, unless you've got a huge practice and you need loads and loads of projects to keep them going and pay the bills. You don't need that many. If you're running a small to medium-sized architectural practice, you can make improvements in your business that will far exceed what's going on in the market. You just need to get a bigger share of what's out there and stand out. And the way to do that, in my mind, begins with good quality business skills. Business skills that you don't get by osmosis. And maybe some of you have been working for other practices that were badly run. So don't role model those practices. Find out what a really good practice looks like. Find out the practices that are making good salaries plus 15 to 20% net profit on top of that. And we deal with them all the time. We've spent 7 years coaching clients around the world. But now we have the Business School for Architects. As I said, absolutely free on the school platform, school.com/ArchiBiz. Or you can join us on the Fast Track MBA, the Master of Business for Architects. And that runs most months with a small cohort, 6-week program, 90 minutes a week. It's live. I run those programs at the moment. And we have a lot of fun and we deliver a lot of value. And people say that they see the changes in their practices immediately afterwards. And what happens at the end of the MBA is you will construct your own practice improvement plan that will run over 12 months. And we can give you some support during those 12 months. And you pick the priorities that you want for your practice. Priorities are different in different practices. So your practice improvement plan needs to be specific to your practice. And you need to monitor it, and we tell you how to do that. We give you some ideas as to what those topics might be and how to work with those and implement those topics in your practice. So good luck with your architectural practice. Business is good. Business can be fun, but you need to know the rules of the game.